Okay, let's get started. Billy, we want to start with you?
Yeah, first of all, I'm just going to introduce, Ron Marciana. He's my number 2 guy. He's my right arm up there in security. Ray has the ICP.
Came to do a real job now.
Yeah, where we go. Everywhere we go, we take over. And of course, Mark Campbell and everyone else there. Pleasure to see you. On each region. We have a chief on the northern side, we have a chief on the eastern side that answered to Chief Cohen and myself. And we told them that their job was to mainly get involved with every police department along the right-of-way so that everybody knows who we are and who they are. And anytime some event happens, whether it's on the railroad or if it's off the railroad, we help them and they help us. And I think, that's one of the things that we felt was very important. We always believed in networking. The other thing that we believed in as we go through this, this slide, and all, you'll see that we got involved very heavily with the intel piece of, after 9/11, one of the biggest things that they found out that no one was talking to anybody. So now there's a little more structured organization where, we're involved with the Joint Terrorism Task Force. We have 2 members assigned there. We have a member assigned to the New York City Intel, which is the HIDA. We have people that are assigned to the UNIRIC up in Albany, which is another Intel center. And we work along with Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Orange, Rockland, Putnam. And, just so that everybody stays on the same page, we're sharing the same information. If there's any threats out there, we all know about the threats, and we work together with those threats. Also, some of us have top security clearance, and all of these things are all a major part of our operation. With the security strategy, some of the things we did, even though we always talk about terrorism, crime is still a major issue, and we have this Transstat project, which is almost like ComStat, where the commanders come in, they sit with Chief Cohen, and we take a look at what are the problems around the area. And what are the crimes, and how are we dealing with them, and how can we help them, assist them in dealing with the crimes. If you take a look at the crimes, Mike's going to talk about them in a little while. Relatively, we have a very low number of crimes on the whole system. It's less than 1 a day. It could be, and if you look at the New York City subway system even, they're down to about 6 crimes a day. So when you think about it and you look at the the whole spectrum, that's pretty low. But and he'll go into what are some of the issues and some of the things we're looking at, and he'll also go into the arrests and show that the police department has made a lot of arrests in the last year or 2. We work along with all the regional transportation groups, which are New Jersey Transit, Port Authority, and all. And we have our chiefs meet, and they share information. They're also looking at a radio project that they can work together. If something happens, one can radio the other one immediately. But they also know one another, which is a big thing. And if something happens, they're all on the phone and they're talking to one another. And they know exactly what's going on. We expanded this counterterrorism surveillance initiative. We use Ray's people where they go out. They talk to employees. They talk to people that are businesses that are all around our train stations and all, just to see, because it's better to have, the more eyes you have, the better off it is, as you well know. So, and they go to, and all they're doing is gathering intelligence to find out what we could find out. Okay. Like I said, we participate with the regional working group. We work with this Volpe Center, Port Authority, DOT, looking at different ways for a regional emergency response. One of the things that we found in 9/11, as you well know, I was the incident commander for the NYPD. one of the biggest things was there wasn't much coordination. Later on, coordination got built into it, but it still wasn't as bad. It could have been worse, but coordination is very big, and we realize that. So we make sure that we work along with all of these groups, and that's why it's, like even with the phone calls, it's very important. It's better to do it now, so when something does happen, at least we're all together. Another thing we did, we just finished up the TSA, DHS has this round table where we share best practices of what's going on around the whole country. We sponsored the 8th one, and we asked that they bring in outside, that they bring in, make it an international conference. And we brought in our friends from Israel, which I was in Israel, so we brought in some of our friends from Israel. We brought in our friends from Spain. I was in Spain after the Madrid bombings. We brought in, people from other countries. And the big thing was to find out what they're doing. And if you realize that most of them are doing the same thing that we're doing, but we all have to hear this and see if there is anything new. I get invited over to Spain a couple of times to speak. I've also been invited over to London. So those connections are there, and I think they're very important because they're surrounded. It's not like over here where we may think that we're separated, because of the water and all, but we're not. It could happen at any time. So, and like I said, we had Japan here and Mexico. The BAS training is this is used in Israel. It's a behavioral assessment training. They say that after you take this training, you could go into a station or you could go anywhere within the system. There could be 1,000 people there. There's 1 or 2 people that you will pick up after you take this training that you feel that you should be looking at. That they, different ways that they may walk, act, talk, and all. So this BAS training is good. Does it work for everyone? I don't know, but at least it's in their head and they start to think about what they should be looking for. Okay. The security strategy, it's agency-wide. We do pilot programs. We also did this red letter drill. A letter drill, we go up to somebody in the system and we hand them a red letter envelope. He opens the envelope and it's a scenario. And then we look to see what does everybody do. How do they respond to the scenario? And everybody responds to it. They're supposed to respond. And later on we critique it. Not to embarrass anybody, but to see what we learned and what we could do better. And drills are one of the most important things. I believe in drills because we did it prior to 9/11. We did it, and I remember on that day, one of the biggest things that drills do is it gets people to know one another. Where Norman knows Bill, Bill knows Norman. So we're not meeting for the first time that we're on the scene of an incident, as you well know. This is where we had the drills in, all of our agencies already. And as of 2009, we've done 8 this year. So, and more will be done. Okay. We expanded the directed patrol program. I had Ronnie go to the federal government, and Ronnie's very good at getting money, so if you ever need money, you go to Ronnie. And Ronnie was able to go to the federal government and get $5 million a year for directed patrol. So all the extra police officers that you see out there, they're on overtime, but the MTA and the state is not paying for them. They're being paid for by the federal government. So Ronnie gets the money, and Mike gets the headache of trying to keep track of everything that we're doing. So, those are one of the things we looked at in March of '07. There were over 38,000 patrols done. In '08, there was over 50,000. So the number expanded because of Ronnie chasing the money, which was really a big issue. Viper is, we work along with TSA. TSA sends us some of the airport screeners, and they work along with our police officers. And we also work along with the air marshals. The air marshals come, and they work on our property. And we put them in different locations where we may be a little light, and people will start to see more visibility, and they'll be patrolling out there. The air marshals, to me, is an excellent way to go program because the head of them is this guy, Felix Jimenez, who was the head of the Drug Enforcement Task Force when I was the head of the Organized Crime Control Bureau, so we know one another for years, and we're able to work together, and they work along together with the MTA police in, being put out on the system. They're deployed at major, transportation hubs throughout the whole system. Okay. These are all the meetings. Another thing that we said that when we got here is you have to be involved with all the OEMs. You have to find out How do they operate? Who do we go to? So that if something does happen, not only a terrorist event, any event, that we know who we're talking to, how we work along with them, and who we should be looking for when we get there. And any time that they have drills or anything else that they're going to do, that they include us, so that you know.
You have a spot at OEM?
We have a spot at OEM.
You have someone assigned?
We have somebody that's assigned as the liaison. Because they're not there all the time, but they do liaison with OEM all the time. And that's Lillian Fernandez. And that's why it was very important that we got involved with all the other OEMs that are along, you know, in the state. Orange County's in there. Orange County's not in there. How come Orange County in there?
Should have been in there, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
At the face with Orange County.
Thank you, Susan. Duchess is in there.
It'll be written in person.
You better write it in now. So, you know, like, you know, these are all exercises that we have been part of, you know, and also with New York City, you know, these are ongoing things. They change, you know, from event to event. You know, day to day, there's different ones put in. Go ahead. Ronnie conducted and Mike conducted a customer survey to find out what they thought, how we're doing, how can we change things, you know, and we're looking at all that. You've seen all of the attacks recently with Mumbai, the rail station, you know, London and Madrid. What we have done recently is we have trained.
When was this survey done?
Last year. Well, what was the date, Joe?
I think that it was the latter quarter of 08 was the first.
Yeah. We're doing it again.
Right.
Mumbai and all, looking at Mumbai, the rail station, London, Madrid, all the stuff that's going on. You see what's going on in the hotels. What we're doing, NYPD turned around, they started training their people in high-powered weapons. We started to do the same thing. So, you know, some of our selected officers, we have trained them in, you know, heavy weapons. In the event that we have to go into a, you know, a mode, if we're in an alert or something like that, we do have the capability, so that we're not depending on other police departments.
Where do they have the officers using the firing range after training?
Nassau County.
Nassau
Nassau County.
Providence Neck?
No.
No, Nassau. I could always ask Ray Kelly for Rodman's, and he'd probably give it to us, but we use Nassau right now, you know. So, I know.
We have this simulator. I'd like to put someone on the simulator.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, if
Machine that you go in, get blanks, you go in. and
No, it's a good way to go. I mean, I shot the kid, I shot the store owner, I remember
Shot
that.
the dog.
Yeah, I shot them all. Yeah,
The MP5 train we're using to arrange in there. For the
Yeah.
normal qualification, we have our own trailer.
I think the simulator is very good for us for the simple fact that all of the customers and all that we have here. That's why it's very extensive training. All the officers that we picked were hand-picked officers, because we just don't want to. Because, you know, when I had when I had the Special Operations Division, we had 1 or 2 officers that had to be removed because, you know, they get too nervous or whatever. You know, so it takes a particular officer, as you well know, to assign them to that kind of detail. So. Now, here's another thing that came up with the unions. One of the things that they felt that they weren't getting any type of training. We started this training in 06, and it was a 4-year training program. We just completed phase 1, which were all the first line employees. And in the training, like Ronnie could talk about it, and Pete Stubbe's in charge. Pete, that's the only thing we have Pete doing, and because it's so important that you have 66,000 people out there that could be helping us at all times, just by being aware of what they should be looking for and what they should be doing. And you want to talk about the training, Pete?
Yeah, this was based on the Kroll report of 2006, and we went to all the agencies. A committee was put together, representatives from all the agencies. A curriculum was formulated, and it's being taught almost exclusively. It's being taught by outside consultants. Most of them are retired police officers. It's what all of our projects. Phase 1 started September of 2007. It's been completed for subways, and that's a 3-hour block. We did over 15,000 people in phase 1. It's those are the things involved in the 3-hour block. It's interactive between the student and the instructor. There's some videotapes that they look at, they discuss them, et cetera, afterwards. And we are, at the moment, 92% complete with transit buses, 92% complete with MTA bus, 45% complete with Long Island bus. That's because they didn't start training till after the merger occurred. Long Island Railroad is at 93%, and Metro North is at 90%. We have started doing Phase 2. If you could do the next slide, please. This is Phase 2, in which we're going over customer management, surveillance, and crisis communications. What we did with this is we took Winston Mitchell, who does the Transit News magazine, and we have gone out and we filmed different vignettes, different scenarios, in this case exclusively occurring either on a train or on a platform in the station someplace. And if this type of situation occurred, how would you handle it? It's some back and forth between customers and the train operators. It's back and forth between the train operators and the rail control center. And it's just how to handle various things, that emergency type of situations that may come up. As I said, we started Phase 2 only with subways back in June, and we've trained in 2 weeks 260 people on this Phase 2. Phase 2 is also a 3-hour block. We are starting August 10th to do different filming, similar scenarios, but obviously different because that will encompass subways, buses, things that could happen in a bus. And then we'll do the same for Metro North and Long Island further in the year.
I'd like to see that.
For subways, the classes go on every day, twice a day at PS 248, the Learning Center, and then we do a remote site that's around the city. It's around the clock. Where this week we're up in Westchester Yards at there's a class starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and that remote site we rotate every week. So we go. Last week we were on 27th Street, Manhattan. This week we're at Westchester Yards. Next week we'll be at Jackson Avenue in Queens. That rotates all over. And then the permanent site at PS 248, which is primarily for stations personnel. But we're going around the clock around the city, delivering that while people are working.
Now with this, do you have a team that, let's say for example, your emergency team, you have a train, tell them 1, 2, 3, right? It's stuck with you, you're capable of handling that. The guys capable.
Yeah. See, what we started too also was our own emergency service unit, and also, you know, our officers go for a lot of extensive
How
training.
many members on the emergency service?
Right now there's 9.
9?
And we wanted that capability because we could, you know, like NYPD has that, you know, and Westchester, Nassau, Suffolk, and all have their own. But, you know, we don't know if an incident, if an incident happens, there may be a secondary incident, or we wanted the capability to be able to respond to these events. Because we did that, we started an emergency service unit. We also bought our own field command vehicles. We have 2. We have one for the eastern region and we have one for the northern region. Where if something happens, we could set up our own command center, you know, and this way here, you know, work along, put it right next to whatever command vehicles are there at the incident. And we have the capability of making calls amongst ourselves so that we know, you know, what's going on and what we're doing. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff.
This specific training, Mr. Seabrook, is really specifically for the train operator, for the conductor, for the station agent, before any help gets there. It's a train that breaks an emergency, it's a smoke condition on a bus, it's a package on a bus. It's before any help gets to you. Sometimes you refer to these people as the first responders, and it's specifically for that time frame.
Well, you know, and that was one of the issues.
Do they have defibrillators that if they have to respond to someone, are they taking a defibrillator with them?
This is just the train crews that we're dealing with.
I'm talking about
No.
the train. They're not taking a defibrillator.
This is a train operator, a train conductor, a bus driver. No, they do not have defibrillators.
See, this training here is mostly all terrorism related, so that they know what to look for. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, yeah.
If something happens, the person next to them is having a heart attack.
I know, exactly.
There's a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, and that would be training under their own agency.
Exactly.
That's how that one works,
Exactly.
you know. Yeah, I asked the same questions you were asking in the beginning. Yeah. But, you know, because like most of like even the agencies, like, you know, Mark's here and, you know, Benny are here and all, you know, they're part of every 2 weeks we do the steering committee where we all sit down and it's all the agencies together, and we all work along together, you know, with the different projects that they have that are out there. I mean, some of the things we could tell you, we'd have to go into executive session. No, I'd never do that, you know that. We got to meet up in the Bronx. But, you know, if some of the things we can't get into in executive session, which we could explain to you, you know, what's going on if you want to hear, you know, some of the other stuff. But, you know, it's important. And we always felt that it was time to get all the employees involved because the union was asking for it. Because, you know, we do have that see something, say something program. We keep trying to change the advertisement that so nobody gets complacent, because you know as well as anybody, the same people ride the same train at the same time every day. So, you know, they're pretty much aware of what belongs on the train, what don't belong on the train. You know, some of the other things we did was when we bought the dogs, we got the best canine unit, transportation canine unit in the United States. It's the only one that's certified by ATF for 22 different types of explosives. And we even started to go we got a little crazy there. We got customer friendly, and we bought some Labrador retrievers, because if you take a German Shepherd into a train, you know, a few people get a little nervous. You take a Labrador retriever into a train, everybody wants to hug it, kiss it, squeeze it, you know. So that's why we went to the Labrador retrievers. So, you know, and we're always looking for different things that, you know, that we could do, you know, and even, you know, bridges and tunnels. You know, we're working along with the New York City Police Department. We partnered up with them. We partnered up with them in their camera programs. We partnered up with them in securing the cities, which, you know, the lower part of Manhattan, which now also includes 30th Street to 60th Street. We got involved with the radiological programs. You know, we work along with them with bag screening, and we do operations where all the police departments get together when they have like say Penn Station, there's like 4 different police departments. We do one big mass, you know, group, and we go in and we, you know, walk around the stations to see what's going on. And we do them randomly, so no one ever knows when we're coming, how we're going to do it, or what. You know, and it's good to keep the officers together so that they're not thinking, well, I'm MTA, they're NYPD. If they all combine together, as you well know, once cops get to know other cops, they're cops. That's it. They don't care about the uniform. They don't care about anything else. They just know that they all belong to that same group and that they work together. And I think that's very important, because they hear things that we may not hear. We hear things that they may not hear. You know, Ray puts out a daily intel briefing every day now, and it's how many agencies get that, Ray?
Over 750.
Yeah, and it's from all over, and it put us all together. You know, really, it put us onto the map.
And do they reciprocate?
And
Slide.
that's it. We'll finish with the slides. Yeah, because that was just the basics. You know. You want to?
No, I can't
You could do executive session. Man.
Can that have a motion to go to executive session? Executive session, please.